Hello friends, this is Scott, and today is Sunday, about 36 degrees, and I'm letting the remainder of my chicken flock out to do their job because they're not laying eggs, so they need to go around the yard and eat some bugs. So today's project is all the way over by the espalier apple tree. We have our container potatoes that we've yet to pick. Now it's been cold for a couple weeks now, and so these should have been picked. So whatever I pick today, I need to eat them pretty quickly because they will not store. Now here's the bins that I use. They're just these little corrugated plastic bins with the little screw-in connectors. And if I lose those, I use little zip ties. But I've been eating out of these containers, so we've already picked some. And so those are all gone, and we're just going to pick the rest of them today. But that's a look at of what they look like and how easy they are to harvest. You just open them up and then just dig the potatoes. Now I had a volunteer pumpkin that kind of grew all over this area. So the first step is pulling these old dead vines off. And because the pumpkin was there and I didn't plan on it, I wasn't able to fill the bins with soil. I use that as an excuse. I probably wouldn't have done it anyway because I've been busy with other projects, but you're supposed to fill these bins all the way to the top as the plant's growing, so therefore there's more room for the potatoes to grow. And it seems like every year I just don't ever get around to filling them all the way up, and I didn't do a very good job this year at all, but we're going to get a few potatoes out of here. In-ground potatoes seem to grow much bigger and better, and so I'm looking forward to the new hobby farm where I can actually put a full bed of potatoes in-ground in full sun, and we'll be able to have lots of potatoes next year. Now here's where all your snails hang out. You know, they always hang out in any containers or any little nooks and crannies, so I gave those to the chickens for a little bit of a snack. But first step is I'm just pulling out the remaining dead vines. And then you'll see how I open these up. All you do is you just twist them. They're like a screw. They're threaded. You just open them up, and there you go. And as you can see, didn't fill them very full, and the soil did collapse. I did put straw in there, so we were able to have the sun blocked from the potatoes, so they didn't turn green. But as you see, the soil is frozen, so I'm having to break it up. And again, it's 36 degrees or less, and it's pretty chilly. And my hands are getting cold already doing this. Although these bins are not as productive as in-ground potatoes, I continue to use them just because of space, and if I do them right, I'll still get a potato harvest. But what I also like about these is you don't have to use any tools to harvest the potatoes. A lot of times when you're digging in-ground potatoes with a spade or with a pitchfork, you'll end up spearing the potatoes or cutting them, and then they get dirt in them, and they're going to go bad. They won't store that way. But again, I'm way late picking these potatoes, and if I would have mulched them in heavier, I could leave them in the ground and just eat them all winter long, as long as they didn't freeze solid. But they're frozen. So I've got to get these out, and I've got to. Again, I'm going to see what we get, and then we're going to eat them as quickly as possible as fresh potatoes. I like fried potatoes in the morning for breakfast, so I think we'll do a lot of that. I also like to bake them with chicken and things like that, so we'll use them up. But I'm just using my hands, and here's a nice earthworm. I'm finding lots of worms, so these beds are healthy, and I thought my chicken work crew would be over here with me. They're usually right underneath my feet when I'm working, but these guys are out doing their own thing. They haven't been out for a little while, so there's plenty of leaves and other things to dig through. And so they're around me. They're just not going to show their faces over here. It doesn't look like in this video. As expected, I'm not finding a ton of potatoes. I'm finding a lot of small ones, but we're finding some. So I'm not totally disappointed with this harvest, and it looks like we're going to get a few here to eat. Got some out of country family in town, and I want them to enjoy some potatoes. They're from the country of Bolivia, which is where potatoes originated. So we'll see what they think of these potatoes. I don't know how many varieties of potatoes there are. I think there's hundreds, but again, Bolivia is where they come from. There's a barbell potato. That was a purple potato. Now, I did grow all different kinds of potatoes in here. I've got red, white, russet, purple, and several varieties of each probably, so I don't recall all I picked, but I'll have a nice assortment of potatoes. Kind of makes for a pretty supper when you have all these different colors. And I usually leave the skins on. I clean them up pretty good and then just chop them up, and especially fried potatoes. And it looks pretty cool on a plate with all the different colors mixed together. There's a couple purple potatoes, and they look pretty good. Not huge, but didn't expect them to be in these raised containers, and without me taking very good care of them this year. As I was saying, what I'm really excited about is having the hobby farm and having the ability to grow a whole bunch of crops, not just a little bit here and a little bit there. Now, in this small suburban yard here in Salt Lake City area, I'm able to grow a little bit of everything, but not a lot of anything, and I'm not able to preserve a whole lot. So we eat it fresh, and then I do put a few bags of frozen stuff away or dry it. But I don't do a lot. I'm not able to grow a lot here, so I'm excited to grow quantity, and that's why I'm going to call it more of a crop garden down there. I'll have a kitchen garden, which is going to be close to the kitchen, or as close as I can get, which will be the stuff, the herbs and the tomatoes and the things that we use, more on a regular basis. But I want to grow the crops in the back, where I'll have big rows of full vegetables. So we'll be able to start preserving once I get my beds up and running. So it'll be, hopefully we'll be able to have some food all year long, not just during the particular season. As you see, it's pretty frozen. I'm having to throw this material down just to break it up. And I'm hoping I'm not missing too many potatoes. I'm kind of doing it fairly quickly, and I don't have a rake with me right now, so I'm just using my hands. But I want to get them all out just because I don't want a bunch of volunteer potatoes either. So I'm picking all of them, whether they're small or a significant size, just to get them out of here. Now I'm down to my last 3 containers. I think I had 10, 12, I don't recall. But again, I had picked a couple bins earlier, so we've been eating potatoes. But this is a really good view of how much dirt I really had in there, and which was terrible. I should have had 3 times or 4 times as much soil. As the plants grow, you continue to add soil. You don't smother them. You do bury them down, maybe 6 inches to start. As soon as they come up, 3 or 4 inches, you just add a little more soil as they grow, until they spill out the top, and would have been a much better harvest, I think. But again, in-ground is the way to go. Thinking of doing is planting in-ground, mound it up, and then stick these containers on top of the soil so that I continue to add soil as the plants grow. And that way it keeps them from sprawling on the ground maybe, and I'll be able to know exactly what the potatoes are when I dig, rather than kind of blindly dig and end up cutting some or sparing some. So that might be a kind of a hybrid situation where I go in ground and then still use these containers. And Mr. Lincoln's here inspecting my work. We had a little scare with Mr. Lincoln. We were out of town at the hobby farm, and my son called and couldn't find the dog, and so we thought we lost Mr. Lincoln, but we lost him so bad that he was found in the backyard. So I don't know what he was doing and why my son couldn't find him, but all's good. But we had us a little scare here, and I don't know what I'd do without my little buddy. Well, I'm down to my last container, and again, I'm not real impressed with the harvest, but we're finding enough. We'll be able to have some potatoes for probably a couple weeks, as long as they store. Nothing smells worse than rotten potatoes, so I got to keep a good close eye on these. I don't want them to, once they thaw out and start to break apart or break down, I don't want to have stinky potatoes in the house. That wouldn't be a good thing. My wife wouldn't appreciate that. So just finding the last couple and just going through the last of the soil. And then we'll let the chickens in here, and then they'll just go through this and eat all the worms. So it's all good. Here's a look at what we harvested today. Again, not a ton. I'll get them cleaned up here for you so you can take a better look at them, or get a better look at them. But here we go. Like I say, there's all different colors, and so they're small, and they'll be very tender, and they'll make a few nice meals. So again, not a crop garden. Just this is kind of just a potatoes are a specialty crop in this small suburban backyard. But they're nice, and they're very tasty, and so I'm looking forward to eating these. And I took them in the house and cleaned them up a little bit more, and we got 1 strainer full, looks like. And this is the last, in this video, we'll give a glimpse of the chickens out doing their job, and they're hunting for all the bugs and worms and all that kind of good stuff. But they tear the crap out of your yard, so you don't want them out in the yard very much unless you're done with the garden. And the only thing I have left is Brussels sprouts and a little bit of red cabbage, and I think we probably won't get any of that, because the chickens will take care of that probably. But they haven't found the worms yet, so we'll see how long it takes them to get down there and find those worms where we had the potatoes. So, well, if I hope you like this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you like what you see here. Thank you.